Salut tout le monde! So in this video, we're going over numbers from 1 to 100. So if you need to learn them or practice them, make sure to stick around because it gets a little tough when we go above 70, all right? Stay tuned. Bonjour tout le monde! Welcome back to Learn French with Nat. And if you're new to my channel, well, bienvenue! Welcome! So in this video, we're going over numbers from 1 to 100. And I'm going to try and make it as clear and simple as possible for you. But it's really important that you know your numbers from 1 to 20 because all the bigger numbers are based on these first 20 numbers, all right? So if you need extra time to work on them, be sure to check out my other video, which I'll link in the description below, that really just focuses on 1 from 20, okay? So let's get going. To start off, we're going to start with numbers from 0 to 20, which we reviewed in a previous video. Like I said, I'll link it below, but let's go over them a little bit quick, okay? You ready? So you can say it along with me if you want. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I hope you got those right. All right, so let's keep going to 20. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, you guys with me? Okay, so now let's focus on numbers from 20 to 69. Beyond that, they start getting a little bit tricky, so we're going to focus on 20 to 69 for now, okay? So from 20 to 69, you simply add the second digit like you would in English. 21 is 21. 22 is 22, okay? Okay, so look closely at the numbers I have beside me here, okay? We have 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So you'll notice here that we take 20, which is 20, and we simply add the second digit after un trait d'union, after a dash, okay? The trick here is, however, 21, 21, the first one in the series, we add an A, so it's 20 and 1. And we're going to repeat this pattern through the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, okay? So it's 21, 20 and 1. And all the following ones is simply a dash and a digit. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay? So here we go into the 30s. 30. Okay? Same pattern. We have the 1 at the top and then a dash and a simple digit. Okay? So 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Okay? Pretty simple, right? Similar to English, we add the digit at the end, right? Okay, let's go to the 40s. So 40 in English is 40, okay? So same pattern again, 41. We say it kind of quick, c'est 40 et 1, but it sounds like 41, okay? 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49. Okay? The 40, you'll notice we say kind of quickly. I don't say 42, 43. It's kind of a 42, 43. Okay? We say them quickly, the numbers in Canadian French, okay? So it's just, I just want to say them how we would say them in normal conversational French, just so you get used to the sound, okay? So again, the 1 is 41, 42, right? I'm sure you're catching on by now, okay? Let's move on to the 50s. So 50 in French is 50, 50. So again with the 1, the et-un, the and 1, 51, 51, okay? 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Same as les 40, we say them kind of quickly. So we're not saying 52, 53. It sounds more like 52, 53. Okay? It's fast-paced in French, okay? All right, so now for the 60s. So the 60s are 60. The X makes a S sound, okay, like the S. So 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69. You guys hanging on? You doing okay? All right, let's keep going. So now this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky, so I'm going to try to give you some tips to help you out, okay? So 70 in French is 70. So essentially what you're saying is 60 and 10. You're saying 60, 10, 60. You're adding 60 plus 10, okay? So 70. So the 70s, the 90s are going to be the same, but we're going to focus on the 70s now. Instead of adding the digit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like you would like in English or for all the others that we've seen so far, the 70s, we add the 11 and 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, etc. Okay? It's a little bit tricky. So this is how it's going to sound, okay? So for 70 is 70. For 71 is 71. We keep the A, again, for the first one in the series there, but we add an 11, 71, 72. You guys get it? Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. This is super tricky, okay? My son has a lot of trouble remembering the 70s in French. It's a little bit tricky, okay? So, do you guys see the difference? Here, I'm going to put a table of the 60s and the 70s side by side here. So you see the 60s is 60, 61, 62, 63. And the 70s is 71, 72, 73. Okay? That's why we need to know our numbers from 1 to 20, not just to 10, to be able to build the bigger numbers. Okay? All right, so let's move on to 80 now. 80 is 80. And what that essentially means is 420. 420s. Okay? It's a little bit weird. It's okay. So 80. Okay? This one's a little bit easier. There is one exception to this one, though. The first one in the series, the 1, we don't say A in this one, okay? So it's simply 81. Okay? So let's start from the beginning. 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. Okay? This one's a little bit easier. We just don't put the A for the 1. Okay? Now, for the last one, the 90s. The 90s follow the same rule as we did in the 70s. Okay? So 90 in French is 90, which translates to 420s and 10. Okay? 90. But for this series, we're going to add the 11 and 12 and 13 like we did with the 70s, okay? So it sounds like this. 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 97, 98, 99. And 100, well, that's 100, okay? 100. We don't say the T at the end, it's simply 100, okay? So what I want to do, because the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s are a little bit trickier, we're going to go over those last ones one more time, okay? I'm just going to go over them quickly. So let's start with 70. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. Did you guys follow along? Great job, guys. That's a tough one. Those are tough numbers, okay? You really gotta practice saying them over and over again. It's repetition that's gonna get you used to saying those numbers because they can be a bit of a mouthful. You just have to practice saying them over and over again, okay? But you totally got this, okay? It's interesting to note, little side note here, that in Belgium and Switzerland, if you ever travel there one day, I know we're focusing on Canadian French here, but they use different words for 70, 80, and 90. France uses the same thing that we do here in Canada, but Belgium and Switzerland say 70 for the 70s, 80 for the 80s, and 90 for the 90s, okay? Kind of interesting. They use a different vocabulary for the numbers. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please press the like button below. I'd really appreciate it. I'll be posting a video on how to read time in French with the 24-hour clock pretty soon, in a couple days. So make sure you practice these numbers in the meantime because you're going to need your numbers up to 59 for that video, okay? So, merci beaucoup les amis. À la prochaine.